There are always troublemakers in school. Maybe a bully shoves a kid into a locker or somebody starts a food fight, but very rarely do you see teachers in detention. Sometimes we forget that teachers are people, just like us. They make mistakes, big and small. But principals are human too, and they like to punish teachers for strange reasons sometimes. And we here at the Hub have found some of the more outlandish examples out there. Here are the 10 times teachers were punished for bizarre reasons. Before the final bell rings, make sure you click to subscribe to our videos. We promise you won't get suspended. NATALIE MUNROE. Hearing about a new blog somebody's writing is no surprise. It seems like everybody and their brother has a blog or vlog these days. And really, it's not even crazy to hear that somebody is trash talking on their blog. But when it's a teacher, and the people she's trash talking are her students, well, I think that's where things get a little out of the ordinary. NATALIE MUNROE was a seemingly normal English teacher from a Philadelphia suburb. She taught the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade in high school, and apparently had enough of her students' wild ways. On her blog, she said things such as, "Kids, they are so disobedient, disrespectful, oafs, noisy, crazy, sloppy, lazy, loafers." Miss Munroe started this blog in 2009 and hadn't heard a peep about it for a while because she didn't use her name or school in the post. However, she must have mentioned it somewhere because her students found out about it. They told their parents, which told the principal, and the rest is history. Not history class, of course. She was suspended by the school system with pay. That's really just a slap on the wrist in the long run, but it will teach this teacher to watch what she says online. Melissa CAIRNS. The next teacher on her list got in trouble not because of the words she was saying, but because of what her students weren't saying. Let us explain. Melissa CAIRNS was a middle school math teacher in Ohio. Unfortunately for her, a little joke she pulled ended up getting her fired. Obviously, if you're a teacher, one of the biggest issues getting in the way of your students' learning is talking. Well, that and being boring, but talking is a huge indicator that your students aren't learning. So in class one day, when one of her students put duct tape over another one's mouth, she had an idea. As a joke, Mrs. CAIRNS decided to put duct tape on all of the students' mouths so she could pose for a photo with them. The description line that was chose to put with the photo was, "Finally found a way to keep them quiet," and was pretty funny at the time. But very soon after, she realized how big of a mistake she had made. The local board of education had a meeting with her about the incident and ended with the decision to fire her. Kind of an overreaction, right? The one time a teacher wants to goof off with her students, she gets punished over it. Christine RUBINO. Social media really does have a way of getting people in trouble, doesn't it? The next teacher on our list is no exception. For most people, ranting and raving online can be a huge stress reliever. You get to say what's bugging you, your friends check to make sure you're okay, everything's great. But whenever you're in a high-profile position like a teacher, that's when things can get a bit hairy. You see, for 5th grade teacher Miss Christine RUBINO, she never expected there to be a backlash for her dark Facebook post. She made a post calling her students Devil Spawn, and then said she'd like to take them to the beach. Doesn't sound too bad until you learned that a 6th grader had just drowned there the day before. Wow, way too soon, and way uncalled for. Naturally, this post got out, and soon parents were calling for her to be fired. After briefly trying and failing to cover it up, Mrs. RUBINO was fired, and everyone was happy. Everybody but her, of course. That's why she started a lengthy court battle that ended in her reinstatement. She did, however, have to complete a 2-year suspension without pay. So, her punishment was definitely justified. What do you think? Did she deserve even more? Victoria James. Having a crush isn't something a student should be embarrassed about. Teachers are some of the main people you interact with, and when you're growing up, it's only natural to be attracted to somebody who cares about you. But with the next teacher on our list, that certainly wasn't the only reason students had a crush on her. That's because Olivia Sprower was secretly a bikini model who used the fake name of Victoria James. Can you imagine if a bikini model was your teacher? That would have to be pretty distracting. When it came out on Facebook that the teacher had been modeling racy clothes on the side, the school board in Florida fired her. She said that she guessed the photos might end up with her being out of a job, and she was right. There was only a month left in the school year when the photos were released, so there wasn't too big of a hardship. In an awesome turn of events, Olivia actually planned to donate $1 from each pictorial sold to the Red Cross Oklahoma Tornado Relief Fund. That means she is beautiful and has a big heart. The school sure made a mistake when they fired her. Carly McKinney. By now, you've got to realize that if you're a teacher, then social media is not your friend. You don't regularly hear about the older generation of teachers getting canned, and that's because they gossip and trash talk in person. Once you put it up online for the world to see, you're gonna have some problems. Sometimes the students won't mind what you put and will even come to your defense. At least that's what happened with Carly McKinney. The still young 23-year-old math teacher from Colorado was using social media like an early 20-something does, posting funny stuff, taking selfies, throwing out wild quotes. The only issue is that the school administrators found out about it and became national news. Whenever her high school classes found out why she was placed on paid leave, they jumped into action to try to defend her. Maybe they saw somebody who was only a few years older than them getting punished for what everybody does. Unfortunately for her, it was too late. The school eventually fired her for the risque photo shoots and questionable judgment. All the while, Mrs. McKinney claimed that the Twitter account she used was a parody she set up with some of her friends. But the admins weren't buying it, and we aren't either. Susan Graham. Tired of hearing about all the mistakes on social media? We are too. So let's talk about something a little more stinky. Kindergarten is a time where kids try to adjust to being away from home. It can be a confusing and fun time, filled with coloring books, counting, reading, and bathroom breaks. But what this teacher did with a bathroom-related function is totally uncalled for. In 2008, a teacher named Susan Graham did the unthinkable. She sent one of her students home with a bag of human feces. She put it in his backpack along with a note for his parents. It read, quote, "This little turd was on the floor of my room." End quote. Now, whether the student did it or not doesn't matter. You just simply don't shame a child like that. Imagine if you were the boy's parents and saw that in his bag. Naturally, the parents reached out to the school and also transferred their child to another district. Firing her is a no-brainer, right? Well, actually, this teacher didn't get suspended, fined, or fired. She only received a warning. I suppose this 58-year-old teacher was tired of putting up with kids' behavior. Jeff Spires. The next teacher definitely deserved to be suspended. There's no doubt there. But we kind of wish somebody like this was around when we were in school. You'll see why in a sec. Mr. Jeff Spires of Charlotte County, Florida, was just your regular high school teacher trying to get his students the best grades possible. There was just one main difference from him and the rest of the teachers in school. He accepted bribes. Yes, if you were having trouble on a quiz or a test, all you had to do in Mr. Spires' class was attach some cash with a paperclip and you'd be home free. Apparently, the low wages had caught up to Mr. Spires because he was taking grade bribes from $15 to $70. He was naturally suspended when the school found out, and then resigned in shame shortly after. It would have been great to know in school that you could boost up a grade by paying a little bit of cash. Problems with algebra? Not anymore. Nothing that a few Lincolns can't fix. When Jeff was asked why he did what he did, he responded, "Maybe I see the kids are as desperate as I am." When it comes to grades, Mr. Spires, you are totally right. Wendy Portillo. Ah, democracy. The process by which every vote counts and everyone, no matter how small, gets an equal say. In theory, it's a beautiful form of governing. In practice, it can definitely be taken advantage of. That's precisely what went down in Wendy Portillo's class. You might be thinking that she teaches a government class or social studies. Nope. Would you be surprised to find out that she taught a kindergarten class? And she had students vote to decide to kick out a special needs child? Because that happened. This horror story of a teacher turned a class against a 5-year-old boy and made him leave the room in embarrassment. What kind of teacher tries to shame one of her students through voting? And once he arrived at the principal's office, they also didn't want him to stay there. Needless to say, that when his parents found out, they were furious. Mrs. Portillo luckily didn't get away with this one. She was suspended for a year without pay and had her tenure revoked. But like how a lot of these stories end with older teachers, she eventually got her tenure back. A very heartless move from Mrs. Portillo. GONJA Wolf. If there's any lesson to be learned at all from the next teacher incident on our list, it's that bathroom functions are natural. They really are. So why do teachers have to make such a big fuss over a student needing to use the restroom? In March of 2012 in San Diego, a high school teacher, GONJA Wolf, treated needing to use the restroom like it was a personal attack. Instead of allowing one of her 14-year-old students to urinate in a bathroom, she did something disgusting. She told her that the only way she could relieve herself was by walking into another room and going into a bucket and then pouring it down a sink. Shockingly, the student complied, because when you gotta go, you gotta go. This led to a lot of bullying and classroom torture for the girl, all to the blame of the teacher, Mrs. Wolf. This taunting led to the girl filing an official complaint against the school system in the amount of $25,000. If there's one thing schools will pay attention to, it's money. So Mrs. Wolf was immediately put on administrative leave. Before any teacher is allowed to work, they should really be required to speak with the urologist first. Cruel duo. Our last part of the list isn't enough for one teacher. Oh no. This bizarre reason for punishment was a task fit for 2 teachers. 2 incredibly rude teachers, we might add, because these middle school teachers decided to publicly humiliate a student in front of the school. That sounds more like the move a bully would make in a made-for-TV movie. But no, actual adults created a fake award and trophy entitled "Most Likely to Not Pay Attention" and handed it to a girl in front of her friends and peers. This is horrible on its own, sure, but once you find out that the girl has ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, it becomes a whole new level of cruel. This all went down in South Carolina, in the Rockdale County public school system. Once the superintendent heard about what happened, he made sure to fire both of them without a second thought, and there's no coming back from that one. When school officials talked to the press, they said that the 2 teachers would never be back at the middle school or any other school in the county. Every once in a while, justice is served. Do you think they deserved it? We do. So, what do you think? Did these teachers get what they deserved, or were the schools too heavy or weak on them? Let us know in the comments. We hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.